Table of contents. Introduction, principles of pressure welding types and principles, and we finish with conclusion. Introduction. Welding is a method of joining metals permanently. It is an ancient method about 15,000 years old. The method used in ancient days was forge or blacksmith welding. One of the methods of classifying welded joints is the method used to affect the joint between metal pieces. Accordingly to the methods are fusion method without pressure, with pressure, non-fusion method. 1. Principles of pressure welding. This is a method of welding in which similar metals are joined together by heating them to plastic or partially molten state and then joined by pressing or hammering without the use of filler metal. 2. Pressure welding types and principles. Gas pressure welding. This method is often used to join steel frames for buildings. The joining surfaces of the base materials are pressed against each other and the area is heated with acetylene gas and oxygen. When the base materials heat up and start melting, they are further pressed against each other. Impurities in the joining surfaces are pushed out and the surfaces are joined. 2. Friction welding. Friction welding is considered environmentally friendly, making it a popular choice for factory automation, the technique for achieving excellent joint smoothness. This method generates high-speed friction between the base materials, metal or resin, to soften them with the heat generated by the friction and then applies pressure to join them. Friction welding can be also performed based on three factors. Resistance spot welding. Resistance spot welding is a method that uses heat from electrical resistance. Projection welding. Projection welding is often used to manufacture weld nuts and weld bolts. It is a method that adopts resistance welding principles. This method is broadly divided into two types: embossed projection welding and solid projection welding. Seam welding. Seam welding is a method used for applications requiring high air tightness and waterproofness. Weld materials are held from above and built with circular electrodes. A current is passed while the electrodes are rotated, and the heat generated by electrical resistance joins the weld material continuously. The method is also called lap seam welding. Upset welding. This method holds base materials with their joint ends together, applies pressure and then passes a current through the abutting surfaces. The materials are joined with the heat generated by electrical resistance. Flush welding. Flush welding is a method that adopts similar principles to upset welding. This method holds base materials with their joints ends lightly held together and even passes a current through the abutting surfaces. The materials are joined with the heat generated by electrical resistance. Unlike upset welding, pressure is not applied to the base materials when the current is passed. This method is suited for welding metal wires or rods. Conclusion. In conclusion, we can know the uses of each operations. Oxyacetylene welding is used to join different ferrous and non-ferrous metals, generally of 3 millis thickness and below. Friction welding is used to join the ends of large diameter shafts, etc. By generating the required heat, use the friction between their ends in contact with each other by rotating a rod against the other rod. Spot welding is used for welding thin sheet metal as a lap joint in a small spot by using the resistance property of the metals being welded.